Red Ice TV has been re-uploaded to YouTube because their YouTube channel was understandably removed from the platform for being literal fucking Nazis. This woman that we're going to be reviewing today is the same woman from my previous video, Nazi Channel Cries White Genocide, by the name of Lana, and she's going to be talking about the failure of multiculturalism. I want to get into reviewing more Nazi, white supremacist, like outright Nazi and outright white supremacist media and debunking it and giving my opinions and basically saying to you guys at home why their ideas are wrong and why their ideas are so repugnant. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this video, and I'm going to tear her apart.
Hi, I'm Lana with Red Ice. I have been banned by PayPal for being unsafe for the community.
Oh, she got banned from PayPal too? Wonderful.
Really? Am I a dangerous criminal with a record? No. Do I sell drugs? No. Have I committed terrorism? Of course not.
You've certainly inspired it, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure Red Ice TV was on the manifesto for the Christchurch shooter. I believe it's that one. I'm not gonna look it up, but I know that your videos have definitely inspired acts of terrorism in the name of white nationalism and the Nazi movement. You may not have committed them yourselves, but you're definitely responsible.
But a Muslim terrorist would have an easier time using PayPal than I would.
A Muslim terrorist, not just a terrorist. A Muslim terrorist specifically. This woman is completely masked off, and I'll be don't worry, I'll be pointing it out to you. Don't worry.
My crime is thinking different. To them, I'm a
No, not just thinking different. Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna. We're 20 seconds in. I've already paused 5 times. Holy shit.
dangerous thought criminal, a threat to their leftist domination, which, by the way, isn't going to last.
So leftism is not dominating in America at all. There are actually very few of us, at least compared to the general population. There are a lot of us in number, but as a portion of the population, not really. So there is no leftist domination. Like Democrats, the Democrat Party is very milquetoast, centrist, lib shit. Like, they are definitely not leftist. Socialism is not a mainstream ideology by any means. Neither is communism or anything else that signifies leftism. We just aren't running things. Where are you getting this idea that we're dominating America?
Many well know it's pretty much impossible to have a real conversation with fanatical liberals and anti-whites. Those who think Trump is
anti-whites. There is no anti-white sentiment. Certainly not in America. That is for fucking sure. I mean, we have a white nationalist or a white supremacist in the highest office in the land. And he's emboldening white nationalists, white supremacists, and Nazis that are getting really antsy all over the country. There is not an anti-white sentiment in this country.
literally National Socialist Hitler, or that conservatives torture illegal non-
I like how she has to throw in National Socialist Hitler. Hitler wasn't a socialist. He was a capitalist and a Catholic. He was not a socialist at all. I just threw the Catholic thing in there because they like to deny that too, because they don't want to have Hitler attached to Christianity. But he was.
non-white children in cages. They are so
White. Okay, so non-white children in cages. The Holocaust Memorial Society, I believe it is, has deemed the detention centers at our southern border as concentration camps. And the people there are being tortured. They are being misted with a chemical compound to disinfect during the coronavirus pandemic that is leading to chemical burns on their skin, respiratory issues. There are forced hysterectomies being done to women in the camps. There is rampant sexual assault and sexual abuse. Children are just fucking going missing. There's a lot of terrible shit that's happening at the concentration camps at the southern border. It's awful. They have to deny it because they can't admit that their god emperor has done anything wrong. But that definitely is happening.
far gone in Crazy Town. According to their wacky anti-white cult doctrine, there's an outrageous lie about people like me. It goes like this: you advocate for violence against non-whites. You want to kill non-whites. You want genocide of non-whites.
That's what Nazis want. You are a Nazi. Nazis and white nationalists only want white people in America. They want America to be a white ethno-state. The problem is there are already black and brown people in America. So if you're going to turn it into a white ethno-state, what are you going to do with them? You either deport them or you kill them. So yeah, you want to deport non-white people or you want to genocide non-white people. I mean, you want a white ethno-state, don't you? That's how you get it. That's what you're advocating for. Why are you lying about it?
People believes this conspiracy theory. Of course, they have zero proof of this because I've never said such a thing. They say, well, we know you secretly think it. In their delusion, me wanting white people to peacefully exist in nations of their own.
Right there, she just admits it. White people to peacefully exist in nations of their own.
Free from forced mass immigration.
Forced mass immigration. Yeah, she wants a white ethno-state. You want genocide. That's what you advocate for, because that's the only way you're going to get that white ethno-state is through genocide or mass deportation. Why are you such a coward? Why are Nazis such fucking cowards that they can't just say how they feel and say what they want? Like, I'll do it right now. I am a socialist. I am a progressive. I support the Black Lives Matter movement. I support the political ideology, the idea of anti-fascism or Antifa. I support the LGBT community. I support trans people as they're one of the more marginalized portions of the LGBT community. I support people of color. I support black people, which is underneath that umbrella, and they're currently under attack. That is what I believe, and I can outright say it. Why can't you? Why are you such a fucking coward?
Terrorism and anti-white hate translates into she wants to mass murder non-Europeans.
That's another thing that these Nazis will do. They'll refer to white people as Europeans instead of white people. It's for good PR. But the thing is, where do white people come from? They come from Europe.
The sick part is, they really want it to be true. They need it to be true to justify their extreme and hateful actions. Meanwhile, these same people are just fine with communism and Islam, ideologies where mass murder is essential for its existence.
Okay.
Wearing a...
Wow, I'm gonna need to censor that. Jesus Christ, why are you making me do more work in the edit? Fuck. Okay, so the areas where the things that you just showed on screen, which is small wonder you got banned from YouTube, but the areas where that happens are not... It's not because of Islam, it's because those areas are corrupt theocracies where Muslim extremists have taken over the government and then have been corrupted by extremist groups in that nation. Muslims in America don't advocate for that. They don't want to institute Sharia law, and they stand against Muslim terrorism and acts like that in other countries. This is a straw man that you're trying to build to justify your hatred of brown people. And to the first point, communism. Communism is not on the rise in America by any means. Sure, more and more people are coming around to it, but it's a very, very small portion of the population that is supportive of communism or even socialism, like myself.
Hammer and a sickle, a symbol that represents the execution, torture, rape, and starvation of hundreds of millions of people, is just edgy fun.
No. No. The hammer and sickle represents the working class, the proletariat, and their ongoing struggle against the bourgeois, the capitalist class. That doesn't represent torture, rape, murder. It just represents the working class. It has been used by communist countries like the Chinese Communist Party or Soviet Russia, both of which are were and are state capitalist economies on their flag, but it doesn't represent any atrocities committed by those governments. It represents the working class. It represents the proletariat. You just don't know what this shit means.
Not anymore. They openly resonate with the spirit of mass-killing tyrants. And the thing is, they love to round up those they deem a Nazi or white supremacist and kill them all, because it would be the right thing to do. People already openly say this.
29% of the people are fucking Nazis. It's like taking a shit. You die if you don't shit, and you die if you don't say you're not a Nazi.
So while they accuse...
So nobody's advocating for genocide of Nazis. We don't want you guys in any position of power at all. That's for fucking sure, but we aren't rounding you up and killing you, like you would to to brown and black people, but that's not happening. What is with this martyr complex, this victim complex that you guys have, where you have to be under attack constantly, despite the fact that the leader of the country, the fucking president, is on your side. He empowers and emboldens white nationalists, white supremacists, and Nazis on the daily, and spouts milquetoast versions of your talking points. You are not under attack in America. Why do you have to be the victim?
Me of secretly really wanting to mass murder non-whites? It's a classic case of projection. It is they who want to mass kill people.
Kill all white people, accused killer who targeted white victims, now charged in 6 deaths. Yeah, there are extremists in any demographic at all. There are people that want to kill all white people. They're a shocking minority. They are so infinitely itty-bitty. But not Nazis in America, they're adding to their numbers every fucking day. They're having rallies all the time. The Proud Boys are out in the streets every single fucking day now. Yeah, you guys are a huge portion of the population. Not percentage-wise, but numbers-wise, there's a fucking lot of you. People like this, people like this article is written about, there's not that many of them. Certainly not as many as you try to make it out to be.
White people. People have this Hollywood, Netflix programmed view of how someone like me sees non-whites. It's completely one-dimensional and childish.
She just straight up fucking admitted it. There's Nazi iconography on the screen as she says the phrase, people like me. Dude had a swastika tattoo, there was a swastika flag, and he had the SS lightning bolts tattooed on his temple or on the edge of his eye. While she was saying the words, people like me, she's openly admitting that she's a Nazi. You advocate for genocide, no matter how much you deny it.
And they don't even know me and have never interacted with me. So
I don't need to know you personally to know where you stand, what your ideology is, what your values are. You're putting them on full display right here. I don't need to know Tucker Carlson personally to know that he is a right-wing piece of shit and a white nationalist. He puts it on TV and then gets uploaded to the internet every fucking day. I don't need to know him personally to know how he feels politically or how he thinks about non-white people. I don't need to know you personally. When you put, people don't need to know me personally to know that I'm a socialist. I put it on the internet. I openly say it. You just are too much of a fucking pussy to actually fully say what you mean in the actual words. You just have to signal towards it. In your case, pretty strongly, but you can only signal towards it because you're a fucking pussy and a coward.
Real open with how I feel about non-Europeans. And I don't feel the need to cut out like many conservatives and say, but I have a black friend, so...
Cuck out like many conservatives and say I have a black friend. Racists will say I can't be racist, I have a black friend, and use their non-white friend, their black friend, as a token to try and scapegoat their way out of the claim that they are indeed racist. She's not even going to try and say that she has a black friend. She knows she doesn't, and she's open about it.
And I don't feel the need to justify why most of my friends are white. The truth is, I like some non-Europeans, and I don't like some non-Europeans.
Again, the whole non-European with a picture of a nice black woman and then a scary black man, which are the caricatures of the two different types of non-whites, non-Europeans, in these people's minds. You're either a thug and a criminal, or you make yourself as white as possible to exist in their society.
Like with any people, you like some and you really don't like some. But the closest friendships I've had are with fellow white people because we have more in common. Most black women will be closest friends with other black women. It's just the way it is. Red Eyes actually has members and listeners from around the world. Yes, people who...
Considering that black people are a minority in America, and in a lot of places in America, a black person might find themselves to be the only black person in the room. A lot of black women will have white best friends or Latino best friends because they make up 13% of the population. The likelihood that they're going to meet another black woman as a black woman in America is significantly lower than the likelihood of them meeting a white woman that they identify with and connect with. What you just said is just fucking not true. Just based on statistics, based on the numbers.
Who aren't Europeans. People who understand.
You just choose to not be friends with people who aren't white. Black people in many areas of the country don't choose to be best friends with a white person. That's just the only people they're around. The high school I went to was relatively diverse, but there was only a handful of black people at that school. And they were friends with white people because they had to be. Because the school was like 80% white.
Understand where we're coming from, and people who would never want their people to go through what we're going through. People.
What do you mean what we're going through? You guys are the majority in the country. You're not persecuted at all, and you control the majority of the government. What the fuck are you going through? You are such a fucking snowflake.
Who also oppose leftist insanity. I enjoy hearing from these people because it reminds me that there are actually many on our side who quietly listen. They are fellow nationalists, and we agree on a lot. But these
nationalists, you know, nationalists are, being a nationalist is not a good thing. It's actually a bad thing. There are many reasons why being a nationalist is a bad thing, but the main one that I'm going to touch on here, because it's relevant to the conversation, is it leads to an irrational hatred of people that aren't like you, and leads you to identify with people who are like you, and exacerbating those hateful tendencies to a point where it boils over to violence and ultimately genocide.
People aren't mass migrating into other people's countries. They are on a different level entirely. So if you were being invaded, should you just smile and welcome these people with an open heart?
Well, the thing is, we're not being invaded. There is no invasion. I know you people like to phrase it that way, like to think that we're being invaded because you saw a brown person when you went to Walmart, but we're not being invaded. White people still make up about 70% of the country.
I don't care where you live, just go with this. If your neighborhood was one way for 100 years, and then within 1 year, it was completely transformed and you were surrounded by foreigners, speaking a different language, living in another culture, would you open your heart and smile? You'd
have to, because you'd be
have to be dead.
You'd have to be dead. Oh my god. First of all, yeah, if the culture around me had changed that drastically, I would adopt that culture to the best of my ability. I would learn their language and welcome them with open arms, because I'm not a fucking racist. I don't have a problem with people that don't look like me. You clearly do, but that being said, that's not happening anywhere. Certainly not in America, but it's not happening in any European nation or any nation in Europe. And like the actual European nations. Like that's just not fucking happening. This is a straw man you have to try and tell yourself so you can sleep at night, because you're such a triggered fucking snowflake about having to see brown people existing in the same space as you, and it's just so unfair because you're a fucking Nazi.
Everyone always talks about Indians in America. Well, why didn't they open up?
Native Americans, Indians. There were no Indians in America when America was settled by European settlers. There were Native Americans. Columbus thought he landed in India, which is why he called them Indians. But they're not Indians, they're Native Americans.
Their hearts to diversity and
indigenous people. I believe indigenous people is the proper term now.
Multiculturalism. They didn't spring from the grasp of America. They weren't the first. Why didn't they say, "Come, European man, let's share, let's mix it up, because we're all immigrants"?
They did. The Native Americans, or the indigenous people of this of this land, welcomed us with open arms, and we fucking genocided their asses. We gave them smallpox blankets on purpose. We slaughtered them in droves. There were entire organizations and militias built around going out and exterminating indigenous people. They welcomed us with open arms, and we fucking stabbed them in the back hard. They did exactly what you're claiming they didn't do.
This is only expected of European people. Even the smallest European nations are expected to have one of each from around the world. Can't be too wide over here. In my lifetime, I have seen America, Europe, Australia, and Canada rapidly transformed by mass immigration and changed for the worst.
No, you haven't, because it hasn't happened. You have not seen this shit. Holy fuck. Because the world is becoming a more global a more global society, which is fucking pog, by the way. The world is becoming a more global society thanks to modern technology and modern advancements such as airplanes. People can travel to other portions of the world that they were previously unable to do so for an affordable rate and in a reasonable amount of time. It didn't take months to cross the ocean. It doesn't take months to cross the ocean anymore. It's like an 8 to 10 hour flight, depending on where you're going. I mean, it can be longer, but you can get anywhere in the world in less than a day now. So yeah, people are going to move around. The idea that we need to keep the races separate and certain countries need to be for certain ethnicities is asinine, especially with the global economy that we have. What your ideas are actively holding back the human race, actively preventing us from advancing as a species, and you don't seem to care.
It is unprecedented. We are the only people invaded and expected to welcome our replacements.
No, you're not. Oh, how old is this? That looks pretty old. That's a younger Joe Biden, but you're not being replaced. This is the great replacement conspiracy theory.
Unrelenting stream of immigration. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop. It's one of the things I think we can be most proud of. Folks like me who are Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America.
2017. Well, as pog as what you're saying is, Joe, we're not anywhere close to being a minority. We still make up about 70% of the country. It would be pretty pog if that number was lower, but we're not on our way to becoming a minority anytime soon. But I definitely agree with what he's saying here.
Absolute minority. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
Yes, replacements, because
Absolutely.
European people are the world minority. The majority of the planet isn't us.
Yeah, because the majority of the planet isn't Europe. Do you take issue with basic geography? Is that really something you have a problem with? The fact that Europe is smaller than the world? I don't even know how to respond. The fact that you're getting so upset over basic geography just boggles the mind. Yeah, Europe is smaller than the rest of the world, so there's going to be more not white people in the world than there are white people. But in countries like America and European countries, white people still make up the vast majority in all of them. We're not being replaced because there are brown and black people elsewhere.
If you open the borders, it's simple math. We are the only people expected to endure hostility, terrorism, and takeover without a fight. Then tell Jews to open their hearts to Palestinians and the Sunnis to the Shiites, or the
There it is. There. Before it was just white nationalist and white supremacist talking points, but right there we had full mask-off Nazi propaganda. The Jews opening their hearts to the Palestinians, despite the fact that Palestine existed, and then Israel sprung up from inside of Palestine and has slowly been taking over the country and committing genocide against them. Why would you be upset by the Jews being taken over by Palestine, despite the fact that it's literally the other way around?
Tutsis to the Hutus or the Tamil Tigers and the Sinhalese. The most natural impulse on the face of the earth is survival and fighting for your people. Only white people are expected to be above it.
It's because we're incredibly wealthy as compared to the rest of the country, and we should invite them in and welcome them with open arms and give them access to the resources that we have stripped their countries of through imperialism for generations. The reason why these countries these countries that she's talking about are so unstable and so impoverished is because of American and European imperialism for hundreds of years. We have destroyed these countries for money, and that we are pointing at the countries that we've destroyed saying, look at how bad that is. It's hypocritical.
Seeing the world's true diversity with each nation living their culture to the fullest in their homeland. It's easy for me to love and accept those people. But it's a different matter when I am in a European country watching millions of non-Europeans storming the gates. It's only natural to feel angry.
There aren't millions of non-Europeans storming the gates. There is a refugee process in all of the U.S. signatory nations. It's international law, and they're using that to escape war-torn countries that are a direct result of Western imperialism.
And closed off. If someone invades your house, do you kick back on the couch and say, hey, help yourself, beer's in the fridge. My wife's up in the bedroom if you want to go say hi. Look. Oh my God. You see, this is the narrative that the white supremacists and the Nazis try to push, that brown people are coming in to take your possessions, to rape your wife, and to have children with her and replace you in the family. It's not true. It's not happening. It's a straw man, and it's just fear-mongering. These are all appeals to emotions to try and scare you into buying into their ass-backwards
ridiculous ideology. And this is a pretty common tactic used by Nazis to try and scare people that don't share their political ideology and their political leanings, to scare them into agreeing with them, because they then, after being told this, feel like they're going to be killed and replaced, and terrible things are going to happen to their families. And the only way to stop that is through these asinine ideas that they have.
I'm sure there must be some nice non-Europeans crossing our borders, but I stopped finding them nice.
And some of them are good people.
When it's 30 million of them, and I am now a minority playing with my kids in the park, feeling like I'm in a foreign country.
You are not a minority. You're nowhere near close to being a minority, and that's 30 million refugees across multiple countries. I think America has let in roughly 500,000. So yeah, that's not happening in America. Sorry, there's not 30 million refugees that have come into this country.
No other people would accept this. There have always been a small number of non-Europeans and European nations. When small in number, things go on as usual without problems. I'm perfectly fine with this, but I'm not fine with the planned replacement of European people in their nations.
Who's planning this? Is it the Jews? No, nobody's planned. There's no planned replacement of European people. She means white people. In our country or European countries, like countries in Europe, there's no plan to replace white people, and white people are not being replaced at all. I'm repeating myself because she just keeps hammering in on the same exact talking points over and over and over again. So I'm just gonna from now on, when she talks about the Great Replacement conspiracy, I'm just gonna just refer to what I've said repeatedly.
I'm not fine with my kids growing up as a minority being told they are bad because they are white. When multiculturalism and diversity is shoved in your face 24/7 with no pocket untouched, you can get a little hostile. It stops being, hey, look, another culture or race, into, oh, great, them. That is why the gods divided us into separate nations.
The gods. Are you trying to appropriate the Norse pagan religion for your own? Because I guarantee you, and I know from personal experience, they don't fucking want you. But no, the gods did not separate us for a reason. I'm an atheist, so I don't believe that gods or a god or anything like that created us. We're a product of evolution, and the differences in our skin color are a direct result of our relation to the equator, as far as where our ancestors grew up, and the differences in culture are due to geographic factors. That's basically it.
It's easier to love when everyone has their space to go home to. So whereas insane lefties and anti-whites think my conclusion is mass murder, in reality my conclusion is for people to stay home.
What are you going to do about the people that are already here? Even if we shut down the borders, you've already been replaced, haven't you? You're going to have to get rid of them. How are you going to do that? You going to deport them, or are you going to just murder them because that's easier? I have my ideas of which one you're going to choose.
Before you tell European Americans to go back to Europe, 1, I already made that video, and 2, so you do agree people should go home or stay home. Well,
no, we don't agree with that. We're just using your talking points against you to show you how asinine they are.
Well, European Americans are in their other home. Pygmies didn't build America. But if you want to play that game of who owns America, though, then it must be played with Asia, the Middle East, and Africa too. Once you start that game, the entire planet will be in upheaval. While lefties accuse me of...
Yeah, people have migrated. But white people were not indigenous to the Americas. We came over here and raped and genocided and murdered indigenous peoples to make it our own. We don't own this land. We're immigrants. We actually replaced them. So if anybody did any sort of replacing, it would be us, not the brown people. The white people replaced them. Yeah, you get it.
Instigating violence. It is they who do this by forcing polar opposite groups to live together in the same space, pretending everything is okay when bombs are going off and bodies are on the pavement. It is they who do this by blaming white people for everything and actually encouraging violence against these Nazis. Forcing opposite...
She literally admitted to being a Nazi indirectly earlier in the video, and now she's saying Nazi with air quotes. You were proud of it earlier. You were proud of it 4 minutes ago. Why are you ashamed of it now? You're such a fucking coward.
Opposite people together, hoping they will blend out all differences, or threatening them to get in line or else, does not work. It only makes people cling to their own kind even harder. I want peace. To achieve it, you must have a homogenous, like-minded population.
No, You just need to get rid of bigots like you. Until people like you are no longer allowed in our society, and either your minds are changed or you have just died off from old age because you're not able to influence future generations, we're not going to have that peace, because people like you are the cause of the majority of terror attacks in America in the last 4 years. Like, there's data to back that up. The majority of terrorist attacks in America over the last 4 years have been committed by far right-wing white people. It's just a fact.
That's why the most peaceful countries in the world are homogenous and mostly European, by the way. And we had the most peaceful countries before the gates were opened and multiculturalism was shoved down our throat.
No, because those homogenous, non-multicultural countries imperialized the lesser developed world, the lesser developed countries in the world, and exploited them for their resources, took their people literally as slaves and sold them to other people. We were not peaceful when it was just white people in these countries. They were not peaceful. They were incredibly violent and imperialistic. There was no peace.
Multiculturalism always fails. I understand that when different...
No, it doesn't. The reason why we're struggling with multiculturalism right now is because of people like you. It's because people like you cannot handle the idea of being around somebody that doesn't look like you, because you're ignorant, because you are a hateful human being. That is the reason why multiculturalism is failing. Because of you.
Differences are too great, it takes separation. Separation doesn't mean mass murder or war. It means resolution.
What resolution is there? I'm repeating myself.
People in America think multiculturalism works just because immigrants from all over the world shop at Home Depot or eat at the Olive Garden. It's very fake. It's not like on TV. Each group sticks to their own. There is no interaction outside of buying stuff in the store. We may all live in the same town, but we don't actually...
No, I interact with other cultures and people of different ethnicities every single day at work. Every single day I interact with these people. We have a lot in common. They just don't have a lot in common with you, because you're a Nazi and you hate them and they don't want to have anything in common with you. They don't want to associate with you.
Actually live as a cohesive group at all. I've experienced it and it sucks. It doesn't make people closer to others. It actually makes them closer to their own. Plenty of non-Europeans don't want to live with white people. So does that mean they're advocating for violence against white people? Does that mean they want white...
No, there's a generational sentiment against the imperialist colonizers that have destroyed their countries. So in portions of the world where we have done that, we meaning white people, have done that, there may be a sentiment, a resentment against our culture in those nations, but the people that are coming here don't feel that way.
White genocide? Anti-whites are the biggest liars. They need you to think that I'm some genocidal monster when it is actually them pushing a genocidal agenda.
Wrong. Just patently false.
Replacing white people in white nations. I am just pointing that out.
No, you're pushing Nazi propaganda on people because you're a triggered little snowflake, a little pussy pants baby, because you can't handle people not looking like you and you hate it. But yeah, that was Red Ice TV spewing their nonsense. If you like this video, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on my socials here. Join the Discord server, join the conversation. You can follow me on Twitch and hang out while I play video games. We can even chat there. Follow me on Twitter. I always announce when I'm going live, and usually announce when I post a new video. So, yeah, if you enjoyed this, please tune into the next one. Until then,